Roald Dahl, BFG, Chapter 16, Mixing the Dream. It was dark now. The night had already begun. The BFG, with Sophie sitting on his hand, hurried into the cave and put on those brilliant, blinding lights that seemed to come from nowhere. He placed Sophie on the table. "Ooh, stay there, please. And no chittering. I's needing to listen only to silence when I's mixing up such a naughty plexicated dream as this." He hurried away from her. He got out an enormous empty glass jar that was the size of a washing machine. He clutched it to his chest and hurried towards the shelves, on which stood the thousands and thousands of smaller jars containing the captured dreams. "Oh, dreams about giants," he muttered to himself as he searched the labels. "Oh, the giants is guzzling human beings. Oh, not that one. Oh, nor that one. Oh, here's one. Oh, here's another." He grabbed the jars and unscrewed the tops. He tipped the dreams into the enormous jar he was clutching, and as each one went in, Sophie caught a glimpse, just a glimpse, of a small sea-green blob tumbling from one jar into another. The BFG hurried towards another shelf. "Oh, now I's wanting dreams about giggle houses for girls and boggle boxes for boys." He was becoming very tense now. Sophie could almost see the excitement bubbling up in him as he scurried back and forth among his beloved jars. There must have been 50,000 dreams altogether up there on the shelves, but he seemed to know exactly, or almost exactly, where every one of them was. "Oh, dreams about a little girl," he muttered. "Dreams about me, dreams about the BFG. Come on, hurry up, get on with it. Now where in the wonky world is I keeping those?" And there he is, trying to find some dreams in among the 50,000 dreams that are on his shelves. And so it went on. In about half an hour, the BFG had found all the dreams he wanted and had tipped them into one huge jar. He put the jar on the table. Sophie sat watching him but said nothing. Inside the big jar, on the bottom of it, she could clearly see about 50 of those oval sea-green jellyish shapes, all pulsing gently in and out. Some lying on top of others, but each one still quite a separate individual dream. "Oh, now he's mixing them up," the BFG announced. He went to the cupboard where he kept his bottles of frobscottle and took from it a gigantic egg beater, or whisk. It was one of those that has a handle which you turn, and down below there were lots of overlapping blades that go whizzing round. He inserted the bottom end of this contraption into the big jar where the dreams were lying. "Watch," he said. He started turning the handle very fast. And there he is. Flashes of green and blue exploded inside the jar. The dreams were being whisked into a sea-green froth. "Oh, the poor things," Sophie crowed. "Oh, they's not feeling it," the BFG said as he turned the handle. "Dreams is not like human beings or animals. Oh, they has no brains. They is made of zosimus." After about a minute, the BFG stopped whisking. The whole bottle was now full to the brim with large bubbles. They were almost exactly like the bubbles we ourselves blow from soapy water, except that these had even brighter and more beautiful colours swimming on their surfaces. "Oh, keep watching," the BFG said. Quite slowly, the topmost bubble rose up through the neck of the jar and floated away. A second one followed, then a third and a fourth. Soon the cave was filled with hundreds of beautifully coloured bubbles, all drifting gently through the air. It was truly a wonderful sight. As Sophie watched them, they all started floating towards the cave entrance, which was still open. "They're going out," Sophie whispered. "Oh, of course." "Where to?" "Oh, those is all little tiny dream bits that I isn't using. They's going back to the misty country to join up with proper dreams." This is all a bit beyond me," Sophie said. "Dreams is full of mystery and magic. Do not try and understand them. Look in the big bottle and now you'll see the dream you's wanting for the Queen. Sophie turned and stared into the great jar. On the bottom of it, something was thrashing around wildly, bouncing up and down and flinging itself against the walls of the jar. Good heavens, is that it? That's it, the BFG said proudly. But it's horrible. It's jumping about. It wants to get out. Oh, that's because it's a troglumper. It's a nightmare. Oh, but I don't want you to give the Queen a nightmare. If she's dreaming about giants guzzling up little boys and girls, then what is you expecting it to be except a nightmare? Oh no. Oh yes. A dream where you is seeing little chidlers being eaten is about the most frightsome, troglumping dream you can get. It's a kicksy bog thumper. It's a wopsy grob switcher. It's all of them riddled into one. It's as bad as that dream I blew into the flesh lump eater this afternoon. It's worse. Sophie stared down at the fearful nightmare dream that was still thrashing away inside the jar. There it is. The troglumper! For the Queen. It was much larger than the others. It was about the size and shape of, shall we say, a turkey's egg. It was a jellyfish. It had tinges of bright scarlet deep inside it. There was something terrible about the way it was throwing itself against the sides of the jar. I don't want to give the Queen a nightmare. I is thinking that your Queen will be happy to have a nightmare if having a nightmare is going to save a lot of human beings from being gobbled up by those filthsome giants. Is I right or is I left? I suppose you're right. It's got to be done. I shall soon be getting over it. Have you put all the other important things into it? When I is blowing in that dream into the Queen's bedroom, she'll be dreaming every single little thing-a-ling-a-ling you was asking me to make her a dream. About me sitting on the windowsill. Ooh, that part's very strong. And about a BFG. I's putting in a nice long gobbet about him, the BFG said. And as he spoke, he picked up one of his smaller jars and very quickly tipped the struggling, thrashing troglehumper out of the large jar into the smaller one. Then he screwed the lid on tightly onto the small jar. That's it. We is now ready. He fetched his suitcase and put the small jar into it. Why bother to take a great big suitcase when you've only got one jar? You could put the jar in your pocket. The BFG looked down at her and smiled. By goggles, he said, taking the jar out of the suitcase. Your head's not quite full of grime sludge after all. I can see you's not born last week. Thank you, kind sir, Sophie said, making a little curtsy from the tabletop. Is you ready to leave? I'm ready. Her heart was beginning to thump at the thought of what they were about to do. It really was a wild and crazy thing. Perhaps they would both be thrown in prison. The BFG was putting on his great black cloak. He took the jar into a pocket of his cloak. He picked up the long trumpet-like dream blower. Then he turned and looked at Sophie, who was still on the tabletop. The dream bottle's in my pocket. Is you going to sit in there with it during the travel? Oh, never! I refuse to sit next to that beastly thing. Then where is you going to sit? The BFG asked her. Sophie looked him over for a few moments. Then she said, if you would be kind enough to swivel one of your lovely big ears so that it is lying like a dish, that would make a very cosy place for me to sit. Oh, by gumbo, that's a squackling good idea, the BFG said. And slowly, he swiveled his huge right ear until it was like a great shell facing the heavens. He lifted Sophie up and placed her into it. The ear itself, which was about the size of a large tea tray, was full of the same channels and crinkles as a human ear. You can just feel your own right now. It's got all kinds of crinkles and creases and things in there. It was extremely comfortable. I hope I don't fall down your ear hole, Sophie said, edging away from the large hole just beside her. Oh, be very careful not to do that. You'd be giving me a cronking earache. The nice thing about being there was that she could whisper directly into his ear. Oh, you's tickling me a little bit. Please do not jiggle about. I'll try not to. Are we ready? that? I didn't do anything. Oh, you was talking too loud. You's forgetting that I was hearing every little thing-a-ling-a-ling 50 times louder than usual, and there you was shouting away right inside my ear. Oh gosh, I forgot that. Oh, your voice is sounding like thunder and trumpets. I'm so sorry. Is that better? No, it sounds as though you shooting off a blunderbuss. Then how can I talk to you? Oh, don't, cried the poor BFG. Please don't. Each word is like you dropping buzz bombs in my ear hole. Sophie tried speaking right under her breath. Is this better? She said. She spoke so softly she couldn't even hear her own voice. Oh, that's better. Now I's hearing you very nicely. What is it you was trying to say to me just now? I was saying, are we ready? Oh, he's off! Cried the BFG, heading for the cave entrance. Oh, he's off to meet Her Majesty the Queen! Outside the cave, he rolled the large round stone back into place and set off at a tremendous gallop.